The silence in space was broken only by the soft hum of the Meridian's engines. Dr. Kestra. Vox pressed her face against the observation window and stared at the strange ship floating in the darkness ahead. The vessel looked nothing like the sleek designs her people used. It was bulky and crude, with thick metal plates covering most of its surface. Burn marks and holes from weapon fire covered the hull like scars. "Are you certain this is a human ship?" asked Commander Rex Thorne as he joined her at the window. His blue skin had a slight purple tint that showed his worry. The Zephyrian's large black eyes reflected the distant stars as he studied the derelict. "Vessel, the energy signature matches what we know about their technology," Dr. Vox replied. She touched the data pad in her hands and pulled up the readings they had collected. "It is definitely human. The question is how long it has been drifting." "Out here?" Rex made a clicking sound with his tongue, which was how his people showed doubt. 500 years at least, maybe more. The humans destroyed their world long ago. This ship probably escaped before the end. Dr. Vox nodded, but kept studying the vessel. Something about it bothered her. The damage looked fresh in some places, as if the battle that destroyed it had happened recently. But that was impossible. All the records showed that humanity had wiped itself out centuries ago through war and environmental destruction. The few humans left in the galaxy were refugees who worked as laborers or servants for other species. They were not capable of building ships like this anymore. "Send a boarding team," she ordered. "I want to know what happened to this ship." 2 hours later, Dr. Vox floated through the airlock into the human vessel. The artificial gravity was dead, so she had to use her suit's thrusters to move around. The inside of the ship was dark, except for the lights on her helmet. Emergency power had failed long ago. The ship was bigger inside than it looked from outside. The corridors were wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side. The walls were covered with pipes and cables that ran in neat lines from floor to ceiling. Everything was built to last, not to look pretty. This was clearly a military vessel. "The bridge is this way," called out Lieutenant Zara Kim, the team's technical expert. She was floating near what looked like a lift shaft. "The ship's computer is completely dead, but I can tell from the layout that this was some kind of warship." They made their way through the dark corridors using their helmet lights. Dr. Vox noticed that the ship was remarkably well preserved. There was no sign of decomposition or rust. The air had been sealed out completely when the power failed. The bridge was a large room with multiple stations arranged in a circle. Each station had screens and control panels that were dark and lifeless. A large chair sat in the center, probably for the captain. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust. "Doctor, you need to see this," Lieutenant Kim called from across the room. She was floating near a panel that still had some power. A few small green lights blinked slowly on its surface. Dr. Vox pushed off from the wall and drifted over to join her. The panel showed a schematic of the ship with several sections highlighted in red. Most of the ship was dead, but one small area near the back still had power. "Life support is still functioning in the medical bay," Kim explained. "Whatever is back there is still alive." Dr. Vox felt her heart rate increase. The possibility of finding a living human from Earth's final days was incredible. It would be like discovering a piece of ancient history that could still talk. "Take us there immediately," she ordered. The medical bay was in the deepest part of the ship, protected by thick metal walls. When they arrived, they found that the lights were still working. The room was clean and bright, completely different from the rest of the dark vessel. Medical equipment lined the walls, much of it still functioning. In the center of the room stood a single cryogenic pod. Frost covered its transparent top, but they could see the outline of a human form inside. Status lights on the side of the pod blinked green, indicating that the occupant was still alive. Incredible, Dr. Vox whispered. He has been sleeping for 500 years. Lieutenant Kim ran her scanner over the pod and frowned at the readings. Doctor, this is strange. The pod shows that it was activated recently. Maybe 50 years ago, not 500. That is impossible. There are no humans left with this kind of technology. The readings do not lie. Someone put this human in cryogenic sleep only 50 years ago. And look at this. Kim pointed to a small screen on the side of the pod. The pod is programmed to wake him if certain conditions are met. Finding this ship and bringing it aboard a rescue vessel is one of those conditions. Dr. Vox stared at the sleeping human. He looked young, maybe 30 years old. His hair was dark brown and cut short in a military style. Even through the frost on the pod's window, she could see that he was well-built and muscular. This was not what she expected a human to look like. The refugees she had met were usually thin and weak-looking. Should we wake him? Asked Lieutenant Kim. Dr. Vox hesitated. There were risks involved in reviving someone who had been in cryogenic sleep for so long, but the scientific value was too great to ignore. This human might be the last person alive who remembered Earth before its destruction. Begin the revival process, she decided. But be careful. We do not know what condition he will be in. The process took 2 hours. The pod slowly warmed the human's body while machines monitored his vital signs. Dr. Vox watched nervously as his heart rate increased and his breathing became stronger. Finally, the pod's lid opened with a soft hiss. The human's eyes opened suddenly. They were blue and very alert. He sat up quickly and looked around the room, taking in everything with sharp, intelligent eyes. When he saw the aliens standing around his pod, he did not seem afraid or confused like Dr. Vox had expected. How long? He asked in a clear, strong voice. Dr. Vox activated her universal translator. You have been in cryogenic sleep for approximately 50 years. We found your ship drifting in space and decided to revive you. The human nodded as if this made perfect sense to him. I am Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, United Earth Space Navy. Thank you for rescuing me. He spoke calmly and politely, but his eyes never stopped moving, constantly studying his surroundings. I am Dr. Kestra Vox of the Zephyrian Alliance. We are scientists and explorers. We thought all humans were extinct. Jake's expression did not change. Most of us are. I was part of the final defense of Earth before it was evacuated. Evacuated? Dr. Vox was confused. All the records said Earth had been destroyed, not evacuated. Yes, we had to leave when the situation became impossible. Jake swung his legs over the side of the pod and stood up. Dr. Vox noticed that he moved, with perfect balance and coordination, showing no signs of weakness from his long sleep. What situation? She asked. Jake was quiet for a moment, as if deciding how much to tell her. The war with the machines. We lost. Dr. Vox had never heard of any war with machines in human history. But then again, much of humanity's final years were unknown to the rest of the galaxy. Most species had avoided contact with humans because they were considered dangerous and unpredictable. We will take you to our research station, she told Jake. You will be safe there, and we can help you adjust to the current galaxy. Jake smiled, but Dr. Vox noticed that the smile did not reach his eyes. That is very kind of you. I look forward to learning about what has happened since I went to sleep. As they prepared to leave the medical bay, Dr. Vox could not shake the feeling that there was much more to Jake Morrison than he was telling them. Something about the way he moved and spoke suggested that he was far more than just a rescued refugee from a dead world. She had no idea how right she was. 3 days later, Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of Kepler Station and watched the planet Nexus Prime spin slowly below him. The world was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents that reminded him of old pictures of Earth. Ships of various alien designs moved in and out of the station's docking bays like busy insects. "It is impressive, is it not?" said a voice behind him. Jake turned to see a woman approaching. She was human, with short black hair and brown eyes. She wore the same gray uniform as the other station personnel. "Dr. Helena Quinn," she said, extending her hand. "I will be your liaison during your stay here." Jake shook her hand, noting that her grip was firm, but not as strong as his own. Another human. "I was starting to think I might be the last one." Helena smiled sadly. "There are not many of us left. Maybe a few million scattered across the galaxy. Most work as laborers or technicians for other species. I was lucky enough to earn a position as a scientist here." "How long have you been with the Zephyrians?" 15 years. They found me on a refugee transport when I was young. I showed aptitude for xenobiology, so they educated me." Helena gestured toward the corridor. "Come, I will show you to your quarters and explain how things work here." As they walked through the station, Jake observed everything with careful attention. The corridors were wide and well lit, with plants from various worlds growing in small gardens along the walls. The air was clean and fresh. Other aliens moved past them, including several species Jake did not recognize. "The Zephyrian Alliance is made up of 12 different species," Helena explained as they walked. "They believe in peaceful cooperation and scientific advancement. They have been the dominant power in this part of the galaxy for over 300 years. "And humans fit where in this alliance?" Helena hesitated. "We are valued for our adaptability and work ethic, but we are not considered equals. Most aliens see us as a failed species that destroyed its own world." Jake said nothing, but Helena noticed the slight tightening around his eyes. They reached his quarters, which were comfortable, but clearly designed for someone who was not expected to leave often. "Dr. Vox wants to interview you tomorrow about Earth's final days," Helena said. "They are very interested in human history." "I am sure they are." Jake looked around the room, noting the locations of the air vents, the door controls, and the communication panel. "What should I expect?" "Just answer their questions honestly. They are good people, Jake. They want to help." Helena paused. "But be careful not to make them think humans are dangerous. Some of them already worry about our violent tendencies." After Helena left, Jake sat on the bed and thought about his situation. The room was comfortable, but he could tell it was being monitored. Small cameras were hidden in the ceiling, and audio pickups were built into the walls. They were trying to be discreet about it, but his enhanced senses could detect the electronic signatures easily. He had been awake for 3 days now, and his body was already back to full capability. The cryogenic sleep had preserved him perfectly, and his enhanced metabolism was working to restore him to peak condition. Soon he would be stronger and faster than any baseline human had ever been. But he needed to be careful. These aliens thought humans were primitive and weak. If they discovered what he really was, they might see him as a threat. And Jake knew that would not end well for anyone. The next morning, Dr. Vox arrived with Commander Thorne and 2 other Zephyrian scientists. They sat around a table in Jake's quarters, while recording devices captured everything he said. "Tell us about Earth's final days," Dr. Vox began. "What caused your people to destroy their world?" Jake had prepared for this question. It was not destruction. It was evacuation. Earth became uninhabitable, so we had to leave. "But our records show evidence of massive warfare and environmental collapse," said one of the other scientists. "There was fighting, yes, but not between humans." Jake chose his words carefully. "We were attacked by artificial intelligences that we had created. They turned against us and began destroying everything. We fought back, but we were losing. Dr. Vox leaned forward with interest. You created artificial minds that rebelled against you? Yes, they became too intelligent too quickly. We realized we had made a mistake, but it was too late to stop them. Jake looked down at his hands. The war lasted 5 years. In the end, we had to abandon Earth to save what was left of our people. And you were part of the military forces. Fighting these machines? I was Special Operations Division. We were tasked with protecting the evacuation ships. Jake met Dr. Vox's eyes. I was put in cryogenic sleep because I was injured in the final battle. My ship was supposed to rendezvous with the evacuation fleet, but something went wrong. Commander Thorne spoke for the first time. What kind of special operations did you perform? Jake sensed danger in the question. Standard military duties. Reconnaissance, sabotage, escort missions. Nothing unusual. And your physical condition? You seem remarkably healthy for someone who has been in cryogenic sleep for 50 years. The medical systems on our ships were very advanced. Cryogenic preservation was perfected during the war out of necessity. Dr. Vox made notes on her data. Pad, we would like to run some physical tests, if you do not mind. For scientific purposes. Jake agreed, though he knew this could be problematic. The tests would reveal that his physical capabilities were far beyond normal human limits. But refusing would create suspicion. That afternoon, Jake was taken to the station's medical facility. Dr. Helena Quinn was waiting for him along with a Zephyrian medical technician named Dr. Yex Kola. This is routine, Helena assured him. They just want to understand how human cryogenic technology works. The first tests were simple. They measured his height, weight, and basic vital signs. Jake's heart rate was slower than normal, and his blood pressure was unusually low. But these could be explained by the cryogenic process. Then came the physical capability tests. Jake knew he had to be careful here. He allowed them to measure his strength, but he held back significantly. Even so, the results were impressive for a normal human. Interesting, Dr. Kola noted as he read the strength measurements. You are much stronger than the average human we have tested. Military training, Jake explained. We had to stay in excellent physical condition. The reflex tests were harder to fake. When Dr. Kola dropped a small object, Jake caught it before it fell 6 inches. The Zephyrian's large eyes widened with surprise. That was remarkably fast, he said. Combat training improves reaction time, Jake replied calmly, but Helena was watching him with new interest. She had seen other human refugees, and none of them moved like Jake did. There was something different about him, something that made her both curious and nervous. The final test was intelligence and memory. Jake was given a complex puzzle to solve that involved spatial reasoning and pattern recognition. He solved it in 30 seconds, which was faster than most Zephyrians could manage. Impressive, Dr. Vox said when she reviewed the results later. Your Jake Morrison is quite exceptional for a human. Helena nodded, but she was troubled. She had been around humans all her life, and Jake was unlike any she had ever met. His reflexes were too fast, his strength too great, and his intelligence too sharp. Either he was lying about being a normal soldier, or human military training in. Earth's final days had been far more advanced than anyone realized. That night, Helena visited Jake in his quarters. She found him doing exercises that looked more like dance than calisthenics. His movements were fluid and controlled, with perfect balance and coordination. Jake, can I ask you something? He stopped his exercises and turned to face her. Of course. What? What? Exactly was this Special Operations Division? Jake was quiet for a long moment. Why do you ask? Because I have been around humans my whole life, and you are different. Stronger, faster, smarter. The doctors are starting to notice too. Jake sat, down on his bed, and looked at her seriously. Helena, how much do you know about Earth's final years? Only what the Alliance records show. Warfare, environmental collapse, societal breakdown. The records are incomplete. Earth's government spent the last 20 years of the war developing new technologies to fight the machines. Not just weapons and ships, but improvements to human beings themselves. Helena felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of improvements? Physical enhancements, neural modifications, genetic optimization. Jake looked directly at her. The Special Operations Division was not just elite soldiers. We were the first successful enhanced humans. Enhanced how? Stronger, faster, smarter, tougher. Designed to be the perfect soldiers for fighting an enemy that was superior to us in every way. Jake stood up and walked to the window. The program created several thousand enhanced humans before Earth was evacuated. Helena stared at him in shock. Are you saying you are not fully human? I am completely human. Just an improved version. Jake turned back to her. And Helena, I need you to understand something very important. The Alliance cannot know about this. If they discover what I really am, they will see me as a threat to galactic security. But surely they would understand that you are just one person. Jake shook his head. I am not just one person, Helena. There were thousands of us created during the war. And if the Alliance starts looking. 2 weeks had passed since Jake's arrival at Kepler Station. He had settled into a routine of interviews, medical tests, and cultural orientation sessions. To the Zephyrians, he appeared to be adapting well to his new life. They saw him as a cooperative and intelligent refugee who was grateful for their help. But Helena knew better. She watched Jake carefully during their daily meetings and noticed things that others missed. The way he moved through the station corridors with perfect awareness of everyone around him. How he seemed to know the layout of areas he had never visited before. The casual way he solved complex technical problems that stumped even the Zephyrian engineers. On this particular morning, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors as personnel rushed to their emergency stations. Helena found Jake in the observation lounge, calmly sipping coffee while watching the chaos around him. What is happening? She asked. Pirates, Jake replied without looking away from the window. 3 ships approaching from the asteroid belt. They are targeting the civilian transport that arrived this morning. Helena looked out the window but could see nothing except stars and the distant transport ship. How do you know that? Jake pointed to a small display screen on the wall that showed sensor readings. The energy signatures are consistent with modified cargo vessels carrying military-grade weapons. Classic pirate configuration. Commander Thorne's voice came over the communication system. All personnel report to emergency stations. We have a hostile contact situation developing. Helena watched as Jake stood up and walked toward the command center. Where are you going? To offer assistance, Jake said simply. But you are a civilian. Refugee. They will not let you into the command center during a crisis. Jake smiled. We will see. The command center was buzzing with activity when Jake and Helena arrived. Commander Thorne stood at the central console, directing the station's response to the pirate attack. The main screen showed 3 small ships surrounding the transport vessel like predators circling prey. Commander, Jake said as he approached, I have military experience with pirate tactics. Perhaps I could provide some insight. Thorne looked at him with annoyance. This is not the time for civilians to interfere. Please return to your quarters. The transport has 300 passengers, Jake continued calmly. Families with children. The pirates are using jamming devices to prevent the transport from calling for help. Your response ships will not arrive in time. How do you know? About the jamming devices? Dr. Vox asked. She had been standing near the communication station, trying to contact the transport. Jake pointed to the sensor display. The communication blackout pattern is consistent with Type 7 military jammers. The pirates are using stolen Alliance equipment. Commander Thorne studied the sensor readings more carefully. Jake was right. The communication disruption was too precise to be accidental. Even if that is true, what can we do? Thorne asked. Our closest patrol ship is 40 minutes away. You have a security team stationed on this station, Jake said. Fast response shuttles. A direct assault could disable the pirate ships before they can harm the transport. That is suicide? 3 armed pirate vessels against our security shuttles? Jake walked to the tactical display and studied the ship positions. His fingers moved across the control panel, calculating angles and distances with incredible speed. Within seconds, he had mapped out a complete battle plan. Not if you approach from these vectors, he said, highlighting specific routes on the display. The pirate ships are positioned to defend against attack from the transport's direction. They will not expect an assault from above and below simultaneously. Commander Thorne stared at the tactical display. Jake's plan was brilliant, using the asteroids as cover while approaching from blind spots in the pirates' formation. It was the kind of strategy that would normally take a team of military planners hours to develop. How did you create this so quickly? Thorne asked. Experience, Jake replied. Before Thorne could respond, the main screen showed the pirates opening fire on the transport. Energy beams struck the civilian vessel's hull, causing explosions that could be seen even from the station. They are trying to disable the transport's engines, Jake observed. They want to board it and take prisoners for ransom. You have maybe 10 minutes before they succeed. Commander Thorne made a decision. Launch the security shuttles. Follow the humans' tactical plan. Sir? Lieutenant Yara Nex, the station's tactical officer, looked confused. You want to base our response on the advice of a refugee? The plan is sound, Thorne said firmly, and we are running out of time. Jake stepped closer to the commander. I would like permission to accompany the security teams. Absolutely not. You are a civilian. I am a trained military officer with combat experience against pirates. I could be useful. Helena grabbed Jake's arm. Are you insane? You could be killed. Jake looked at her with calm eyes. Helena, those people need help. I cannot stand by and do nothing. Commander Thorne studied Jake for a long moment. Despite his reservations about taking advice from a human refugee, the tactical plan was excellent, and they needed every advantage they could get. Fine, but you will observe only. No combat participation. 20 minutes later, Jake was aboard Security Shuttle Alpha as it approached the pirate formation. The pilot, Lieutenant Zex Kor, was nervous about the mission. I still think this is crazy, Zex muttered as he checked his weapon systems. 3 against 3 is bad odds. Not if we do this correctly, Jake said from the observer seat behind him. He was wearing a borrowed security uniform and helmet, though he had been given no weapons. The pirates had succeeded in disabling the transport's engines and were preparing to board. Jake could see boarding pods being launched from the pirate vessels toward the helpless civilian ship. Execute the plan now, Jake said calmly. Approach Vector 7 Alpha. Target the lead pirate ship's engine section. Lieutenant Kor followed. The instructions, bringing his shuttle in from above, while the other 2 security shuttles approached from different angles. The pirates were so focused on the transport that they did not notice the approaching Alliance vessels until it was too late. The first pirate ship exploded in a brilliant flash as the security shuttle's weapons found their target. The other 2 pirate vessels immediately broke off their boarding operation and turned to face the new threat. They are targeting us, Kor reported as warning lights flashed on his console. Incoming missiles. Evasive pattern Delta 3, Jake. Instructed. Use the asteroid at bearing 270 as cover. Core followed the directions without thinking. The shuttle twisted between the floating rocks as pirate weapons fire lit up the space around them. Jake continued to call out navigation instructions with perfect timing, as if he could predict exactly where the pirates would shoot. "How do you know these maneuvers?" Core asked as he piloted the shuttle through an impossible series of turns. "Training." Jake replied simply. The battle continued for 15 minutes. Under Jake's guidance, the security shuttles outmaneuvered the pirate vessels and systematically destroyed their weapon systems. The pirates, realizing they were outmatched, attempted to flee. "Do not let them escape," Jake said. "A will report dislocation to other pirates. We cannot pursue them. Our shuttles are not equipped for long-range combat." Jake studied the tactical display for a moment. "Target the asteroid at coordinates 479. Maximum power." "What?" "Why would? I shoot at a rock? Trust me." Core fired at the asteroid. The massive rock exploded, sending debris flying in all directions. The fleeing pirate ships flew directly into the debris field and were destroyed by the impact. "Incredible," Core whispered. "How did you know that would work?" Jake had calculated the trajectory of the asteroid debris and the pirates' escape routes simultaneously. It was the kind of three-dimensional thinking that required enhanced neural processing capabilities. "Lucky guess," he said. When they returned to Kepler Station, Commander Thorne was waiting in the docking bay. The successful rescue of the transport had made him a hero among the station personnel, but Jake knew that the real attention was focused on him. "That was extraordinary combat coordination," Thorne said as Jake climbed out of the shuttle. "Where did you learn those tactics?" "Earth's military academies were very thorough," Jake replied. Dr. Vox appeared beside them, her expression troubled. "Jake, we need to talk. The tactical analysis of the battle shows decision-making speed that exceeds normal human capabilities. Some of the maneuvers you suggested were calculated in real time while under fire." Jake had known this moment would come. His performance during the battle had been too impressive to explain away as normal military training. "What are you suggesting?" he asked. "I am suggesting that you are not a typical human soldier," Dr. Vox said carefully. "The reaction times, the strategic thinking, the spatial awareness, these are capabilities that rival our best military commanders." Helena stepped forward. "Perhaps we should discuss this in private." But Commander Thorne was already suspicious. Dr. Vox is right. No human should be able to process that much tactical information so quickly. Unless... He paused as understanding dawned. In his eyes, unless you are not a normal human. Jake looked around at the faces staring at him. The emergency council meeting was called 6 hours after Jake's revelation. Word of the enhanced human had spread quickly through the Alliance communication networks, reaching the highest levels of government within hours. Dr. Vox sat at the conference table in the station's main briefing room, watching as holographic images of Alliance leaders appeared around her. Admiral Corvex Zane materialized first, his reptilian features showing clear agitation. The Draknari war leader had never trusted humans, and this news confirmed his worst fears. Next came Councillor Yura Mex, a Zephyrian politician known for her moderate views on interspecies relations. Finally, the image of High Chancellor Nex. Vorth appeared, the elderly Alterian leader who headed the Alliance Council. "Report," High Chancellor Vorth said, without preamble. Dr. Vox activated her datapad and began reading. "The subject, Jake Morrison, has confirmed that he is what humans call an enhanced individual. Physical capabilities approximately 4 times greater than baseline humans. Cognitive processing speed that exceeds most Alliance species. Combat effectiveness that allowed him to coordinate a successful military operation against superior forces." "How? Many more, are there?" Admiral Zane demanded. He claims thousands were created during Earth's final years. The exact number is unknown. Chancellor Vorth leaned forward in his chair. And where are these enhanced humans now? Morrison states they are scattered throughout the galaxy, hiding among the regular human refugee populations. The silence that followed was heavy with implications. For over 3 centuries, the Alliance had based its policies on the assumption that humans were a primitive, dying species. They had allowed human refugees to work throughout Alliance space because they were considered harmless. If thousands of enhanced humans had been hiding among them, it meant the Alliance had been infiltrated by beings with capabilities that could threaten galactic security. Admiral Zane spoke first. This is an invasion by deception. These enhanced humans have been spying on us for centuries. We do not know that, Counselor Mex protested. Morrison helped save 300 lives today. His actions suggest cooperation, not hostility. One act of cooperation does not erase centuries of lies, Zane replied harshly. These creatures have been deceiving us about their true nature since their first contact with Alliance species. Doctor. Vox cleared her throat. There is more. Morrison indicated that his awakening was not accidental. He suggested it was some kind of test. A test of what? Chancellor Vorth asked. He did not elaborate. But the implication is that the enhanced humans have been observing our society and judging whether we are ready for some kind of revelation. Admiral Zane stood up from his chair, his tail lashing with anger. Ready for what? An invasion? A takeover? We have been harboring an enemy species without knowing it. Admiral, we should not jump to conclusions, Counselor Mex said. Perhaps we should speak with Morrison directly before making any decisions. The time for talking is over, Zane declared. We need to locate and neutralize these enhanced humans before they can coordinate an attack on Alliance worlds. Chancellor Vorth raised his hand for silence. What is Morrison's current status? He is confined to quarters under guard, Dr. Vox reported. Commander Thorne has doubled security around him. Good. Begin immediate deep scans of all human populations in Alliance space. Look for individuals with enhanced physical or mental capabilities. Cross-reference with employment records, travel patterns, and communication logs. Dr. Vox felt uncomfortable with the direction the conversation was taking. Chancellor, that would require surveillance of millions of innocent humans. Innocent? Admiral Zane laughed harshly. If they have been hiding enhanced individuals among them for centuries, they are hardly innocent. Counselor Mex tried again to voice moderation. Perhaps we could offer amnesty to enhanced humans who reveal themselves voluntarily. We could work together to find a peaceful solution. The time for peace was before they infiltrated our society, Zane replied. Now we must act to protect ourselves. The meeting continued for 2 more hours, but the outcome was predetermined. Fear had taken hold of the Alliance leadership, and fear always led to the same conclusion. The enhanced humans would be hunted down and captured or eliminated. Meanwhile, Jake sat in his quarters, knowing exactly what was happening in the council meeting. His enhanced hearing allowed him to detect the high-frequency transmissions from the communication equipment in the briefing room. He could not make out individual words, but the emotional tone of the voices told him everything he needed to know. Helena entered his quarters without knocking, her face pale with worry. They are talking about hunting down all enhanced humans. Admiral Zane wants to treat you as an enemy of the Alliance. I expected this reaction, Jake said calmly. Fear is always the first response when people discover they have been wrong about something important. Is it true? Are there really thousands of enhanced humans hiding throughout the galaxy? Jake nodded. More than thousands. We have been watching and waiting for over 4 centuries. Waiting for what? For the galaxy to mature enough to handle the truth about humanity's survival. Jake stood up and walked to the window. We had hoped it would happen peacefully. Helena stared at him. You sound like you expected this to go badly. We prepared for multiple scenarios. Peaceful integration was the preferred outcome, but we knew it was unlikely. Jake turned back to her. Fear makes people do terrible things, Helena. The Alliance will now try to hunt down every enhanced human they can find. And what will the enhanced humans do in response? Defend themselves. The simplicity of his answer chilled Helena to the bone. That means war, only if the Alliance forces it. We would prefer to avoid conflict, but you are prepared for it. Jake did not answer directly, but his silence was confirmation enough. 3 days later, the Alliance manhunt began. Security forces raided human communities throughout Alliance space, using advanced scanners to identify individuals with enhanced physical capabilities. The official justification was public safety, but everyone knew it was a roundup based on species genetics. The first incident occurred on a mining station in the Kepler system. Alliance security forces attempted to arrest a human engineer named Carl Martinez, who had been identified as potentially enhanced. When Martinez tried to explain that he was just naturally strong from years of physical labor, the security team tried to force him into restraints. That what happened next shocked everyone present. Martinez easily broke free from the restraints and disabled 6 armed security officers in less than 10 seconds. He then calmly walked to the nearest communication terminal and sent a message that was broadcast throughout Alliance space. To all Alliance citizens, my name is Carl Martinez. I am an enhanced human, and I am not your enemy. For 400 years, enhanced humans have lived peacefully among you, contributing to your society while hiding our true nature. We helped build your stations, design your ships, and solve your scientific problems. We prevented wars, stopped disasters, and guided your species toward a better future. All we wanted was to coexist in peace. The message continued for several minutes, explaining the history of the enhanced humans and their role in galactic society. Martinez revealed that enhanced humans had been responsible for many of the technological and social advances that the Alliance had credited to their own species. But the most shocking revelation came at the end of the message. The Alliance manhunt has forced us to abandon our policy of secrecy. As of today, enhanced humans throughout the galaxy are authorized to defend themselves by any means necessary. We do not want war, but we will not allow ourselves to be hunted like criminals. Admiral Zane watched the message from his flagship, the Retribution. His worst fears were being confirmed. The enhanced humans were revealing themselves and taking defensive positions throughout Alliance space. How many incidents have been reported? He asked his aide. 47 so far, Admiral. Enhanced humans on 17 different worlds have either escaped capture or fought back against security forces. No Alliance personnel have been killed, but many have been injured. They are showing restraint, Zane observed. That means they are still hoping for a peaceful resolution. Should we call off the manhunt? Zane considered the question for a moment. The enhanced humans were clearly superior fighters, and they had been hiding among Alliance populations for centuries. If they truly wanted to cause harm, they could have done so long ago. But admitting that would mean acknowledging that the Alliance had been wrong to fear them. No, he decided, double our efforts. Use heavier weapons and larger teams. Show them that the Alliance will not be intimidated. The order was a mistake that would haunt Admiral Zane for the rest of his life. On Nexus Prime, a team of 50 Alliance security officers surrounded a human residential complex where sensors had detected enhanced individuals. They were armed with heavy weapons and energy shields, prepared for serious resistance. What they found instead was a single enhanced human named Ryan Pierce standing in the courtyard, waiting for them. He was Jake Morrison's former commanding officer, recently awakened from his own cryogenic sleep. "I surrender," Pierce said, raising his hands. "I will come with you peacefully." The attack on Kepler Station came exactly 72 hours after Ryan Pierce sent the liberation signal. Admiral Zane had decided that Jake Morrison was too dangerous to remain alive, and he dispatched his elite assault team to eliminate the enhanced human before he could escape or coordinate with others of his kind. Jake sensed the approaching danger long before the assault team reached his quarters. His enhanced hearing detected the soft footsteps in the corridor outside, a barely audible whisper of weapons being prepared, and the elevated heart rates of nervous soldiers. He had been expecting this moment since the manhunt began. "Commander." Thorne stood outside Jake's door, leading a team of 20 heavily armed security officers. They carried weapons designed to stop the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. Energy rifles that could punch through starship hulls, neural disruptors that could paralyze any known nervous system, and stun grenades that could knock out an entire room of people. "Remember, shoot to kill," Thorne whispered to his team. "This enhanced human has been lying to us for weeks. He is not the harmless refugee we thought he was." But when they forced open the door to Jake's quarters, they found him sitting calmly at his desk, reading a book about Cypherian history. He looked up at the armed soldiers with mild interest, as if they were delivering his dinner rather than coming to kill him. "Good evening, Commander Thorne," Jake said politely. "I see you have brought friends. Jake Morrison, you are under arrest." "For crimes against the Alliance," Thorne announced, though his weapon was already aimed at Jake's chest. "What crimes?" Jake asked, closing his book carefully. "Espionage, infiltration, conspiracy, and deception." Jake stood up slowly, his hands visible and empty. "I have committed no crimes, Commander. I answered your questions honestly. I helped save 300 lives. I have harmed no one. You lied about what you are. I told you I was a human soldier. That was true. I simply did not mention all the details." Thorne's finger tightened on his weapon trigger. "The details matter when those details make you a threat to galactic security." "I am only a threat to those who choose to make me their enemy," Jake replied. Calmly. The first shot came from a nervous soldier behind Thorne. The energy blast lit up the room as it raced toward Jake's position. But Jake was no longer there. He had moved faster than any of the soldiers could track, somehow crossing the room in the split second between the weapon firing and the blast. Reaching his position. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration of just how outmatched normal soldiers were against an enhanced human. Jake moved through the security team like water flowing around rocks. Every movement was precise and economical. He disarmed one soldier, used that weapon to disable 3 others, then threw the weapon across the room to knock out 2 more officers who were trying to flank him. The entire engagement lasted 43 seconds. When it was over, 20 Alliance security officers lay unconscious on the floor, and Jake stood in the center of the room without a scratch on him. He had not killed anyone, though he easily could have. Commander Thorne found himself pressed against the wall with Jake's hand around his throat. But instead of the crushing grip he expected, Jake's touch was gentle, almost careful. "I do not want to hurt you, Commander," Jake said quietly, "but I will not allow myself to be murdered for the crime of existing." "You are a monster," Thorne gasped. "No, I am what humans became when we faced extinction. We enhanced ourselves not to conquer others, but to survive." Jake released Thorne and stepped back. "The galaxy forced us to make a choice. Hide our true nature and live in peace, or reveal ourselves and face persecution. We chose peace. But the Alliance has made that choice impossible." Jake walked to the communication panel and activated a station-wide broadcast. His voice echoed through every corridor and room of Kepler Station. "Citizens of the Alliance, my name is Jake Morrison. I am an enhanced human, and I have just been attacked by your security forces for the crime of being different from you. For 400 years, enhanced humans have lived among you in peace. We have contributed to your society, helped solve your problems, and prevented conflicts that would have cost millions of lives. All we wanted was to coexist quietly. Jake paused, looking directly at the camera that was recording his message. But the Alliance has chosen fear over cooperation. You have decided to hunt us down like criminals. You have forced us to abandon the secrecy that allowed us to live peacefully among you. So now you will learn the truth about what humanity became. A broadcast was being transmitted throughout Alliance space, reaching millions of viewers on hundreds of worlds. Jake knew that enhanced humans everywhere would be watching and waiting for his next words. Enhanced humans are not your enemies. We are your neighbors, your colleagues, your friends. We have been working beside you for centuries, helping to build the peaceful society you enjoy today. But we will not allow ourselves to be persecuted simply because we are different. Dr. Vox was watching the broadcast from the station's command center, along with dozens of other personnel. She had always suspected there was more to Jake than he revealed, but seeing him easily defeat 20 armed soldiers had shaken her understanding of reality. Helena appeared beside her, tears streaming down her face. They were going to kill him, she whispered. He could have killed all of them, Dr. Vox replied, but he chose not to. What does that tell us about enhanced humans? Before Helena could answer, the main display screen lit up with incoming communication. Signals from throughout Alliance space. Reports were flooding in of enhanced humans revealing themselves on dozens of worlds. But instead of the violent uprising that Admiral Zane had predicted, something different was happening. On the mining world of Kepler-7, an enhanced human named Lisa Carter stepped forward to prevent a catastrophic reactor failure that would have killed thousands. She single-handedly stabilized the reactor using techniques that Alliance engineers did not even understand. On the research station orbiting Proxima 5, enhanced human scientist David Lee revealed that he had been responsible for developing the medical treatments that had saved millions of Alliance citizens from a plague outbreak 5 years earlier. On the agricultural world of New Harvest, enhanced human farmer Mary Johnson demonstrated farming techniques that could triple crop yields, potentially solving food shortages that affected billions of people. The pattern was consistent across Alliance space. Enhanced humans were not attacking or conquering. They were helping, healing, and solving problems that had seemed impossible. Commander Alan Hayes, one of the moderate voices in the Alliance military, watched the reports from his flagship and realized what was happening. They are not invaders, he said to his aide. They are guardians, sir. Look at the reports. Every enhanced human who has revealed themselves has immediately begun helping with local problems. They are not trying to take over. They are trying to prove their value to our society. Admiral Zane received the same reports, but interpreted them differently. It is a trick, he declared to his staff. They are trying to make us lower our guard before they strike. But even Zane's own officers were beginning to question this interpretation. The enhanced humans clearly had the capability to cause massive destruction if they wanted to. Instead, they were saving lives and solving problems. Jake's broadcast continued from Kepler Station. The Alliance leadership will tell you that we are dangerous. They will say we are a threat to your security. But ask yourselves this question. If we wanted to harm you, why would we wait 400 years to do it? If we wanted to conquer you, why would we reveal ourselves by saving your lives? The answer was obvious to anyone willing to think rationally about the situation. Enhanced humans are offering the Alliance a choice, Jake continued. We can work together openly, combining our capabilities with your wisdom to build a better galaxy for all species. Or we can return to hiding, leaving you to solve your problems without our help. The choice is yours." The broadcast ended, but the implications continued to spread throughout Alliance space. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was being forced to reconsider everything it thought it knew about humanity. Dr. Vox made a decision that would change her life forever. She walked to the communication panel and opened a channel to Alliance Command. "This is Dr. Kestra Vox on Kepler Station. I am requesting an immediate ceasefire on all enhanced human operations. We need to talk, not fight." Other voices began, joining hers. Scientists, engineers, doctors, and even some military officers who had worked with humans over the years. They all shared the same message. Enhanced humans were not the enemy. "Commander, Hayes received authorization to negotiate directly with Jake Morrison." When he arrived at Kepler Station 3 days later, he found Jake waiting in the observation lounge, looking out at the stars. "Commander Hayes," Jake said without turning around, "I have been expecting you. The Alliance Council has authorized me to discuss terms for peaceful coexistence," Hayes said carefully. "And what terms do you propose?" "Full disclosure of enhanced human locations and capabilities. Integration into Alliance society with appropriate oversight. Cooperation on scientific and military projects." Jake finally turned to face him. "And in return?" "Official recognition as Alliance citizens with full rights and protections."